Hi, everyone, and welcome to Soap Scoop, the Inside Soap podcast. And if you're anything like us, you are reeling, tingling, shaking. We're talking about Corriedale. What an episode! What a moment! I'm not over it. I don't think we're ever going to be over it. How are you feeling, Johnny?
Well, when you said tingling and reeling, I thought you were talking about your New Year hangover still kicking in a few days into the new year. I'm feeling like I need to be medicated because there's a lot to process. But I mean, what a time to be alive. You know what I mean? We've been talking about this, for so long, but actually seeing it come to life, it was incredibly special and such ambition and kind of mad stuff, but also some really fun humorous moments as well, some moments of real warmth, and it looked like a Mission Impossible movie. Like it was like super exciting. It's like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of us on this podcast just going because there's just a lot. But yes, it was just felt like a real moment.
I feel like, I know I'm not a Marvel fan, but I feel like how Marvel fans feel when it's the Avengers coming together. Because when you're a soap fan and you love everyone and you just love all these characters and they're meeting and they're interacting, it's just a dream, absolutely a dream come true.
Yeah, it's real. I am a Marvel fan, for my sins. Not as much as I'm a soap fan, obviously. I don't work for Inside Marvel, do I? Um, it very much that energy, and that's a lot of people have made that comparison, haven't they? It's like the MCU. This is
Yes.
the SCU. I don't know, the the ITV soaps communal universe. I don't know. Very much an Avengers Assemble energy. Even to the point where there was like a Incredible Hulk moment. So you know that bit where Lisa's trapped in the car. There was that amazing drone shot of the fire creeping towards from the exploding minibus towards Lisa's car, and the two casts of Emmerdale and Corrie like hulked it out and got together, physically moved the car to save Lisa's life. I actually found really moving. Like it was a real, and it was kind of a bit like music. It was a bit slow mo in places that people were doing this, and I thought it was how lovely, how gorgeous for these two teams
Mm.
together to like save a life. So that was, I felt like all they needed was the Hulk to come out and just pick the car up with one hand and put it over, and then like go off and defeat Thanos in another universe or whatever they get.
Well, you're right though. It was really cinematic, and I know there's been like a lot of debate among fans and soap aficionados like us that some people were hoping that we were going to see Ken Barlow in the Woolpack or Eric Pollard in the Rovers, and the whole cast of Emmerdale were going to be on the cobbles. And I have to say, I actually really disagree with that, and I'm glad they didn't do that because I feel like that would have felt like just an extended children in need sketch. It would have felt a bit like too winky to the audience and a bit breaking the fourth wall. Whereas this, it did feel like a proper episode rather than just like, oh, we're doing this for charity, we're doing it for fun. Like, and also there were so many huge storylines that I hope that even if you don't watch the other soap, if you're a Corrie fan that doesn't watch Emmerdale, I know we've been doing a lot to try and get everyone on board, that you were actually intrigued enough to think, I'm going to go and watch the other one now because all these storylines were just so gripping and so good that I failed to see how you can watch this and not want to watch the other soap.
Completely. I mean, and they know what they're doing. Obviously, this is to help launch the Power Hour they're talking about, aren't they? The soaps have changed scheduling pattern and all of that. So, this is kind of the reason to do it at this time. But you're right. I mean, I've been thinking about this. We watch all the soaps. We've always watched all the soaps. I can't imagine of being somebody who only watches Corrie and doesn't watch Emmerdale. Like it's weird, but yeah, they've done such a great job of getting that intrigue. If you don't really follow, one of the shows, it's really gripping, and everything was just ramped up, wasn't it? As well, it was so high octane. It really felt like you go back to your point about will people be disappointed that we weren't in the locations of the village and the street. I agree with you. I think that this was more like that's one way to do it. Okay, that is the more comedy charity sketch, more gimmicky perhaps. This is like, but we're used to those super soap weeks and those super soap stunts that usually are on location somewhere, taking the show out of the normal community. That always feels special. That always feels, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it always feels like an event. This is an event, so it kind of had to be meeting in the middle. I think it's another way to do it. It's not what Corriedale was. Corriedale was like a moment, literally worlds colliding on this location. Kind of, the mechanic was the stunt to bring all these storylines together and progress all these storylines and deliver all these shocks. You wouldn't have had that sense of spectacularness, if it was in one of the respective locations. And it wouldn't have been everyone together, because you get a busload of people go from Emmerdale to Corrie and vice versa. That's 2 episodes. It's not a crossover.
And why? I also think
They do that. Yeah, at least this made sense. Everyone had a reason to be on that road. Even poor Jay Sharma, like, he didn't, he thought he clocked off.
But we have to talk about that moment, because I think it was one of my favorites. Like, we were all hoping for that kind of like double take of like an actor that's been in both, and there's several that have been in both, and to have that moment with Jay and Stephen McDonald was just genius. I loved it.
It's so genius. I think it is one of the takeaway moments for the it was really funny, just enough of a little nod. Really, the whole thing as well, I felt respected the audience, which was, really necessary and really great. That it's a reward, it's a treat, it's a present for fans. And yeah, and I was actually thinking, when Jay was in it, it just crossed my mind earlier in the episode, like, oh, isn't it funny? Like, you can't do it with everyone. Obviously, John Sugden, Oliver Farmer also was in Corrie. You can't do it with everyone, because so many actors have done both. But yeah, making that virtue of it, and it being Steve, Steve provided quite a lot of comic relief this episode. He also had the funny comment about, like, why are you wearing a tie? We need a tie. Like, Jacob needed a tourniquet to help Mackenzie. Like, we need a tie. There's been a wedding. Surely you've got a tie on. And Steve was like, let's just thought it'd be a bit trendy.
Yes, classic Steve.
Classic Steve. But yes, Steve seeing Vic Ram / Jay, that was really fun, really funny. Those kind of little nods. It, like Deadpool, I mean, going back to Marvel, I'm really overplaying my Marvel hand here, but the Deadpool movies don't shy away from the kind of the meta-ness of it, and the kind of the in-jokes and the things that the fans are going to notice. So that was really fun to do it. There was a lot of humor in it as well, which I was happy about. A lot of Corrie style wit in the Emmerdale darkness. Do you know what I mean? I suppose you think of the brand values, Emmerdale does go, deeper and darker, especially in those like event episodes. They're particularly known for, their big stunts in events. Very Hot and Bypass.
For me, that episode of Emmerdale was one of the best soap, well, that kind of whole week really was one of the best weeks of soap that I've ever seen. And that was kind of storylines coming together in a crash. And I suppose I had seen a bit of criticism from people, oh, this is a bit like a Hot and Bypass ripoff. Yes, but when you've done the best stunt ever in soap, what else do you do? So I kind of don't really mind that they kind of copied it a little bit, because it was different because you had the other characters, but also, you can't do another tram crash, can you? So you've got to do something.
Yeah, and there's all, there's a lot of car crashes in soap. We don't always say, what? Oh, there was a car crash 2 years ago. Sweet. It's a car crash. But I think in a flattering way, it took inspiration from the Hot Bypass crash. And it's 10 years ago. And it's not exactly the same, but it is a good way of physically getting stories in the same place. And narrative, do you know what I mean? So yeah, like you say, why not? If you're going to plagiarize yourself as ITV, why not plagiarize one of the most successful, I think, stunts they ever did? Yeah.
Well, I want to kind of start digging deep into this episode. And
let's get the shovels. Let's dig, man. Let's dig.
The place I want to start is some of the big twists. Okay, so number 1, Graham back from the dead.
Graham is back from the dead. He still sounds like he's got a sore throat. He still sounds like he needs a fisherman's friend, which, why break the habit of a lifetime? That was a shocker. Who saw that coming? And throughout the episode, there's this, who's the guy? Or is it a woman? We don't know. Someone's driving this car. Someone's got this poor lady, tied up in the back of this van. It's kind of Hitman vibes. What is going on? Who are they? I actually thought we're never going to know who this person is. Maybe that'll be followed up. And then, I don't know. It's mad. It's mad. Thing about Corriedale is that you had all the balance, I thought. You had really high octane, super size, super soap, big drones, fires, all of it. Then you had some nice, moments of humor and warmth and real, emotion. Then you had Graham, the most mad moment. But he saw Joe. See, this was the thing. Remember how connected Joe and Graham were? He was like Alfred to his Bruce Wayne and that whole dynamic. and he really cared about Joe. And just to glimpse him, obviously, he wasn't expected to see him. Or was he? Now, has Graham been hiding in plain sight all this time? I don't know. It's a shocker. I feel like, though, we're going to have a lot to be explained to us because we saw him die. Did he get...
So he was murdered by Pierce Harris, who was Rona's husband who raped her and was imprisoned, and then killed Graham because Graham was dating Rona at the time. And Marlon went to prison for it because he was framed, and there was a whole, whodunit type thing. We saw Graham's dead body. I don't know. I haven't gone back to check, whether anyone identified him or anything, but
That's your homework, Chloe. Your homework after this is...
I know, but I'm just gonna say it now. I was not a Graham fan.
He was massive. I thought everyone I was just fascinated by him because he was so mad. He was such a heightened character, very entertaining.
This is my thing. This is my thing. I know he was really popular, and I know there was a lot of people really fancied Graham as well. So I know there'll be loads of people that are thrilled he's back. For me, it was like, is he a butler? Is he a hitman? I just don't really... I still felt at the end of Graham, I didn't know who he was, really. And I know the whole kind of enigma thing was part of his character. I just never warmed to him. I never really saw the point of him. It was just like with Kim, but I didn't really feel their chemistry. However, I do think him coming back will add an interesting dynamic to Home Farm, which I feel Kim's got a little bit too soft lately. So I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to change things. I'm always dubious when characters are brought back from the dead when we've actually seen their body and we've gone through the whole murder of them, because I just think, is it jumping the shark a little bit? But soaps still all the time, so you kind of just have to let that go. But for me,
more I think, aren't they, as well? They are really... Yeah. It used to be the rule, like Kathy Beale. Well, it was a phone call from South Africa. We never saw it. But many a time, like Claire Devine in Hollyoaks, Warren Fox numerous times in Hollyoaks. We've seen it. Now, all bets are off.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just because I wasn't a Graham fan, so it didn't excite me. However, obviously a twist that no one saw coming, but no one saw it coming because everyone thought he was dead. So that's probably why. But I know it will definitely cause some interesting drama at Home Farm, which is really exciting. And obviously, I don't remember whether Graham thought that Joe was dead or Graham knew Joe was alive all the time, because obviously those pictures emerged. But anyway, we're going to have lots more Joe and Graham stuff to come, so that's really great. Those two had an interesting kind of almost like father-son, but not quite dynamic. So
really interesting dynamic to explore, and it was when Joe first came into the show. It does hark back to a key relationship in Joe's life, really. And maybe, Chloe, you will be persuaded and convinced of Graham's majesty in Graham the sequel. Or is it, do you know what? Is it Graham? Is it a twin? Because look at Jeremy Sheffield coming back to Hollyoaks as his own twin brother. Who's to say that it's not Gareth, Graham's identical twin hitman brother? Or is it like Face Off? If we're going cinematic crazy action movie energy, which is what Corriedale had a lot of. Is it like Face Off? Is it like Travolta and Cage and someone's stolen Graham's face? That we've got questions and we need answers. So hold your horses.
Well, my theory at the moment is Emmerdale is just looking back over its amazing cast, and they're bringing back every actor that anyone ever fancied. That's the way to get your audience on board. Just bring back all the people that everyone was like, oh yeah, I quite fancy a bit of them. That's my theory.
Give them what they want.
And we've got to talk as well about poor Billy. What a shocking death. I mean, I think we all felt that Billy was a goner just because we knew Daniel Brocklebank was leaving. But
brutal. You know what? The death scene was brutal. It took that fire and brimstone. He's reciting the Lord's Prayer as the flames are licking around him. Obviously, he's trapped, and Theo basically left him to die. Theo, it's down to him. So this has massive legs as a plot now, because Theo, he knew what he was doing, but he's very tormented about it. And you feel like in the aftermath of that, Theo can't believe what he just did. He did it, and he thinks he's doing it to protect his relationship with Todd and this control he has over him. But he's going to be so tormented by this. I mean, what a way to go. But then, Billy's been in the show a long time. Billy had a lot of massive storylines. And yeah, I did think also, is it a weird full circle moment? Because what one of Billy's defining things is that he was partly responsible for Susan Barlow's death. If you
Yeah.
that 25 years ago, it turned out like this was something we didn't find out till many years later. Billy had been in the show a long time. That was a car crash, and now Billy has perished ostensibly in a car crash. Lest it blew up. Do you think they intended that? Do you think it was like a, well, did he ever pay the price for being involved with Susan's death? What do you,
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to leave a show, you want a big exit, I think, and this certainly fulfilled that. I mean, we keep talking about Hollyoaks in this episode, but it did remind me of Maddie Morrison leaving Neil to die in the minibus crash at Cindy and Steve's joint wedding, and which was again she was a fantastic villain, and leaving someone to die was chilling to the bone. Theo is a fantastic character, I think. And although you feel awkward saying, "Oh, I'm really gripped watching this awful storyline play out with him and Todd," I really am, because I think Theo is, a fantastic narcissist because he's so charismatic and charming and lovely. But actually, when you see him laugh and smile, I'm actually chilled because I just think, "Oh, you're awful," and I feel for Todd so badly. I mean, obviously he came out of this episode having lost one of his closest friends and his ex, and it's just devastating. And I don't know I don't know whether this is going to torment Theo to the point of revealing, who he is, or whether it's going to almost give him the arrogance of, I can do so much more because now I've left someone to die.
Yeah, and so there is kind of no limits to his narcissism and his obsession with Todd, and his belief that the world revolves around him. I did get a sense in the later in the episode that Theo was shell-shocked by his own actions, and whether this will, I mean, there's no redeeming this guy anyway. We kind of knew that, but especially now. But will he be so tormented that he will own up? Or I don't know. There's obviously a long way to go here. A really emotional moment as well when and there was no dialogue. Summer came to the hospital, saw Todd, and they just embraced. Summer sobbed her heart out, losing one of her dads. She lost Paul, who was like a dad. Now she's lost Billy. That was a heartbreaking moment. Really simple, really kind of beautifully done. But yeah, I mean, like you say, we kind of had the vibe that Billy would perhaps not survive Corriedale, but I don't think anyone expected him to be saying the Lord's Prayer in a free bus.
No, it's a way to go. We also have the mysterious woman in the van, Jodie, which is going to be an interesting, question as to who she is, how she's going to be connected to.
Well, do you know what was interesting? Again, another callback to Hollyoaks. The character of Kitty was introduced in the Hollyoaks car pile up a couple of years ago, who became a really interesting character and ended up really settling into the village and had this whole backstory about they were escaping like a bad situation, like a bad relationship, but they were also is this big identity fraud thing. It's got the vibes of that as well. So clearly this woman is just not a supporting artist who thought, oh, I've got quite a few lines in this episode, that's nice. It's Becky just sitting in the background, you drinking a cup of tea. Yeah, there is obviously a plan there. But also, is she going to be in Emmerdale or Corrie? Well, she's connected to Graham. Emmerdale.
So we've already got the connection to Graham, but I think viewers are going to find out very soon. Where are we going to begin, Johnny? There's so much to talk about, so many big stories, but I feel like the collision began with the two powerhouses of the soaps, the two biggest ships going. We've got Becky, Betsy, Lisa in one car. We've got Aaron and John in the other. Kind of two sides of the biggest ships, Swarla and Robron.
Yeah, it could only be, and they kept saying "To Us Blood." That was the trailer, wasn't it? That was the posters. That was the tagline. I think fans will be loving that. And they'd also teased in the run up to it all the little crumbs that we had were, we had that picture of Aaron and Lisa. That was one of the first official things, wasn't it? Like those two characters together. So yeah, ships collide, literally. The Robron and the Swarla ships collide. I think that was great. I think that was, again, really respectful to the fans. Such a loyal following that those relationships, those storylines have got. Had to be, didn't it? And the chaos of Swarla and Robron, especially at the moment, with all the other elements, in it.
Well, I keep saying to fans online, you've got Becky, you've got John, you've got two psycho exes haunting these brilliant couples. Both sets of fans have got basically the same problem. They both want to get rid of this ex out of the way, but their exes are psycho. So what can you do?
What can you do? I just don't, put them behind the wheel of a car, like what you don't do. But they went and did it, and there you go. And yeah, it basically started everything, didn't it? And then Carla was trying to do a good thing. Carla like going, no, stop, and just caused more carnage. Poor Carla. So Carla also, in trying to avert chaos, sort of caused more. But yeah, starting that moody start as well, like the montage of the eyes in the rearview mirror, that really set the cinematic scene that we were like, yeah, this is quite something different. This is a bit of a treat. But yes, Robron and Swarla collide. And then also another big shock, is John dead? I don't know. He didn't look like he was breathing. He's on the ground in the woods. There's a whole gap, right? I don't know, like we're obviously going to find out. There's a whole gap where we thought John had got away again, and then everyone goes to Hot and General and has a flapjack, and then Victoria, who hasn't been in the episode at all, is standing over her brother's seemingly lifeless body. If this is it for John, how do you feel about that? You are a big Robron fan, and so am I. But Chloe needs to go and mastermind about Robron.
That would be a great shout. Actually, I think I'd be really good.
I think you will. So, but having John as the fly in the ointment of Robert and I's relationship. If John is finally dead, how do you feel about that?
I feel like I'm ready to move on from the whole psycho husbands. We've had John, we've had Kev. I think we need a new chapter. But I feel like the John thing's going to continue, because has Victoria killed him? Did Robert kill him? Is there going to be like he covers for her? Or I don't know. It's hard to call. I mean, why bring her into it right at the end? Where was she? Like, what was she doing? Why was she in the woods? Why was she on the road? We also know that obviously Isabel Hodgins is leaving, so her maternity leave. So is that going to be part of her exit? Who knows? I feel like it's going to cause, if Robert has killed John, obviously that's going to hang over him as a character. But do we care whether villains are murdered? I don't know. I feel like people will forgive Robert for killing John if that's the case.
Yeah, probably. Just means there's no more John antics, because
I feel like John peaked at Christmas really with, he kind of lost his mind a little bit, because he kept saying all throughout, putting Mac in a bunker, saying, I'm a good person. I save people. I'm a hero. And then by the end, he was just like, I'm just going to kill people because, I want them out of the way and I want Robert gone and all that. So I feel like John has sort of peaked. I'm hoping if we get to find out kind of what happened to John, that we do get kind of more confrontations, because I feel like his first exit when he went to Rotterdam, I was left feeling a bit like, no one's had their moment to say to John, like, you've done this to me,
and have that showdown, have that confrontation. So yeah. We need to.
Before we go and chat about the Swarla antics, we also had Robron getting engaged again.
Indeed. And what do you like, if maybe John isn't dead, perhaps if they get married and John turns up at their wedding in a nice reverse of Robert turning up at John and Aaron's wedding? Yeah, really lovely. I mean, I think Aaron said, oh, this is such a romantic place to have a proposal. No, it's not. It's a roadside in the middle of the night.
I mean, to be fair, every time they've got together, it's been, the first time they had their engagement, it was during the Hotton bypass crash. They got engaged knowing that James Barton had croaked it. So it kind of feels like quite fitting to have death and destruction around them. And they're like, oh, forget that. It's all about us. I kind of love that about them as a couple. And of course, they had their
people up, like in a big like dark stunt moment. They're like, oh, I know. Let's get engaged, and everyone, and it will give people something to smile about. But
it's the romance we need in Corriedale, and also, I feel like that it just feels very them to kind of do this when there's death and destruction around them, and they're on a roadside. That's where they had their first snog. So yeah, I feel like it was a nice. I think a lot of people felt that maybe both of them or one of them would be in real peril and danger and sort of at death's door. But seeing as Aaron nearly died in September, I sort of feel like give him a break, Maybe they should have given Robert the chance to have a major injury. But I sort of also feel that kind of near-death experience, it puts things into perspective, doesn't it? You've got to hold on to what's important. So hopefully we'll get a wedding if the other two ex-husbands somehow file a divorce. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. If John's dead, fine, but we've still got the Kev problem. So yeah, who knows? Hopefully, wedding number 3. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, that was a nice bit of warmth in Corriedale anyway.
Certainly was. I also loved all the David and Shona had some lovely warm moments as well with her. It's big traumas with her being pregnant. Lovely moment with Shona and Jacob. That was one of my favorite bits where Jacob helped Shona draw the baby kit because she hadn't felt the baby. She was really worried, and that was a really nice interaction. I think it's one of my favorite interactions between some Emmerdale and some Corrie. They brought a lot of kind of warmth to it. Also, in shocks, I've got a list because there's so much to talk about. Debbie and Carl. So we need to touch on this. Like, this is obviously going to throw this storyline into a whole other direction. Boo hears dastardly Carl moves his own sister, who is living with dementia, having a difficult time. She now thinks she crashed his car and, going to be done for dangerous driving or something. I don't know. I mean, is Carl just going to let her do that? But Kevin is onto it. We know this because Kevin has kind of, said it in the episode that he saw Carl driving, knew he'd had a drink, and then how did Debbie end up in the driver's seat? So Kevin is going to be the Avenger here. Like Kevin's Captain America, Carl is Thanos. I'm going back there. So yeah, Kevin, more brothers kind of at war. But what an awful thing to do. I mean, obviously there's Theo leaving Billy to die, but Carl doing what he did to Debbie. I mean, that's just despicable, isn't it?
I feel like there's no way back for Carl now. I mean, I think he's a fantastic character and I really am enjoying watching him. I feel like there were times where I thought, oh, maybe they could redeem Carl, but now I'm not so sure because I feel like what he's done to Debbie so far has been pretty awful, but this is a step beyond.
Don't mess Debbie because we all love her, so don't mess Carl.
Exactly. We love Debbie. So yeah, you cannot do that to Debbie. Absolutely awful. But if we're talking about villains, we have to go back to Becky because we finally had our sort of punch in the air moment when Becky reached her conclusion. So what did you make of the final sort of showdown between Becky and Lisa and Betsy and all that stuff?
Well, it was, I think, one of the genius moments of the whole thing was the secret handcuffing where Becky thought she was going to be able to, get in Lisa's head again. Like, obviously Becky was about to do a runner, but she was like, oh, but poor me. Like, but Lisa, you know that you love me, really. If that just brilliantly choreographed as well. Brilliant bit of directing, particularly in that, in the ambulance where she kind of goes up to her and she has no idea that Lisa, who is practically, very close to death and she's all battered and bruised, still manages to handcuff Becky and read out her rights, Rebecca Swain, I'm arresting you on suspicion, da-di-da. Yeah, punched the air. I loved it. I thought it was really great and it was really unexpected. I think we all thought, oh no, Lisa's at such a vulnerable moment and Becky's going to go and she's going to get away with everything. But never underestimate our Lisa, right?
Absolutely.
But I just feel, there's more to come here.
Yeah.
Because Becky's very self-preserving. Who, if there's a bus, you're going under it around Becky. And there's a lot more to unpick as to how this all kind of happened. But Carla, what a hero as well. Carla, like, not giving up. Carla really should have been in hospital because she's been, sort of held captive for weeks without any of her meds she has for that kidney thing she had. But her being so caring with Betsy, and hopefully Betsy seeing Becky for who she really is. Still a lot to unpick there, but a very almost comatose Lisa still doing her job, still capturing the baddies. And that was great. I think I could hear the nation cheering as that happened. Yeah,
absolutely. And as we said, the kind of the fallout from that will continue, and I think there'll be kind of quite a bit of trauma for that family in terms of trying to get their head around who Becky really was and that Carla was telling the truth all along and Lisa was hoodwinked and obviously
like who trusts who now? Like,
yeah,
not just they can't just simply reset and go back to normal. And also, I feel like there's other stuff Becky knows or is involved with that could put Lisa and Betsy in danger, or I don't know, she set traps elsewhere to kind of get the last laugh. Who else is involved in Weatherfield Constabulary in this, mass corruption? So I feel like Becky's potentially got some hands to play, because it's not going to be that simple, is it? But Carla and Lisa and Betsy, they've got a lot to come back from. And Betsy, this surely throws Betsy on a juvenile delinquent route. Like what that kid has been through. I feel like we'll keep your eye on her, because she could go off the rails, man. But again, I just want to say the Carla Betsy relationship was beautifully played, and Carla being her absolute mama bear with Betsy was really nice to see.
And I think actually that's what fans really wanted to see, because obviously their relationship had built so much before Becky's arrival, and then Becky threw a spanner in the works, and I think it was probably maybe everyone was hoping for kind of this big romantic reunion for Swarla in this episode, but I feel like because they've been through so much, it can't be that easy. So when they do get together, I think it's going to be a really beautiful moment, because they definitely will get together again. They just have to work out kind of how they can exercise Becky from their lives first.
The new normal. I mean, normal for any soap relationship, but yeah, they've got a lot to work out. They're planning a holiday.
But talking of couples that have got a lot to work through, Charity and Mackenzie, that relationship is a ticking time bomb.
It's a ticking time, and there's even more, isn't there? The whole Ross thing wasn't even touched on in Corriedale. That's all still to come. Look how Mackenzie reacted, when he thought he knew the whole story. He doesn't. So yeah, but he's not in a good way. Like Mackenzie looks pretty like he's got some recovering to do. So I don't know, like, is that gonna prick Charity's conscience? Do you think she might end up confessing all? Because Mac's very close to death. If he survives, he pulls through, she's gonna come clean? She's gonna tell him? Probably not, because it's Charity.
It's Charity, yeah. I feel it's quite unlikely. I'm just kind of now debating, like, what is the future for these two? Will they completely call it quits? I sort of feel like I always used to think that they could come back from it, but now I'm not so sure. I just feel like Mackenzie's reaction to her first lie was so big. How on earth is he going to get his head around the fact that it's Ross?
I don't think, like, Charity always tries to explain herself and defend herself. I don't know if she's going to be able to, but and Mackenzie's been, he's at death's door every 5 minutes. You've gone from the bunker to the Corriedale crash. Someone's got it in. The universe has got it in for Mackenzie.
Yeah,
he's absolutely not final destination. So might he think, well, you know what? Could be dead tomorrow. Could be in a car crash. Could be in a bunker. I love Charity. It's happened. I don't know, but he's quite moral, isn't he, Mackenzie? And he never used to be. And Mackenzie was always quite free and easy and a bit, anything goes, and very morally dubious himself at times. But I feel he's got a lot more unforgiving. But when you're married to Charity, the least moral person in the world, maybe that is, just compared to her. Yeah, I don't know. I feel there's so much more to come with them.
Well, there's so many more things in this episode that we haven't got time to discuss, but two things quickly I want to finish on. Number one, Cain might have cancer.
Please don't. That's heartbreaking. And that was really, really cleverly done. I really loved how we had a voiceover of a doctor telling somebody we found something in the scan. It could be cancer. It's not looking good, but we didn't know for ages who it was. And that like montage was really, really clever. And yeah, what lies ahead now for Cain? And Morris had a brain tumor. Like, oh my gosh, it's just going to be tragic. But that was a real shocker. And we just had the comedy of Cain calling Kit Green a lanky copper.
Yeah, that was a great dynamic, actually.
Got the full Cain, run the Cain gamut. We had him being a bit, moody and mardy with people, and then thrown into what is going to be an absolutely heartbreaking story.
And finally, probably a scene that people who've been fans of Corrie and Emmerdale for years and years will be so thrilled, because it's the meeting of two greats, Ken Barlow and Eric Pollard, in the same room fighting over a flapjack. That moment was, well, historic, like the whole episode, but really, and probably quite an unexpected moment, because obviously they weren't caught up in the crash. But I'm so glad that they actually did meet and have the chance to interact.
Yeah, amazing. It was really special and really nicely underplayed. It was we could have had a whole hour of Cain and Pollard trying to get that flapjack out of that vending machine. Thanks, Charity, by the way, for coming in and doing what she did. It was really beautiful, and I feel like I need to see that bit again, because it was, it wasn't a very long scene, but it was. I just can't still believe it happened. What a time to be alive. Pollard and Cain. Maybe they'll become like pen pals or something. Like I don't know. I'd like them to continue this friendship. But it was gorgeous, and it had to happen. It really had to happen. Yeah, the two longest serving. Obviously, Cain's been it since day one. Pollard is the longest serving actor on Emmerdale. I think it's 40 odd years maybe he's done. Yeah, I don't know. What can you say? It was great, and it was sweet, and it was lovely, and it acknowledged again for the fans, acknowledged and rewarded fan loyalty and fan investment. That's one of the things I really loved about it. And yeah, what better way to kind of bring the worlds together? So
yeah,
I just keep thinking that what can you say about it? It was just Pollard. It was Cain and Pollard.
I feel completely overwhelmed by the whole thing, and it's going to be one of those episodes that I watch over and over again, because there's so many things that I just want to revel in or I missed, and yeah, I cannot wait to kind of hit that replay button. I'm sure everyone else will be as well. And what I will say is, if you are not a fan of Corrie and you watch Emmerdale the other way around, we've got a cheat sheet in our magazine which tells you kind of who everyone is and why they are kind of important to the show. And I hope that will help you kind of figure out who's who and why they're there and what the history is. But what I will say is, why not watch both? Join us. Now that we've got this power hour, I think it's perfect, because you can sit down at the same time every day and watch just an hour of soaps, or you can catch up on YouTube. And I really think both soaps are so good at the moment. They're so engaging. They've got a great cast of characters. It's a fantastic time to be a soap viewer. And I really think that Corriedale kind of showed the best of what both soaps can do, because we had the kind of darkness and the stunts of Emmerdale, and then we had the kind of warmth and humour of Corrie, and both do so many tonally different stories and have humour. They have darkness. They have great stories and characters. They're both worth watching. So I think if Corriedale has convinced you, then do it, because they're both brilliant and they're both worth watching.
Absolutely.
We will be joining you again next week with a brand new podcast. We hope you enjoyed this Corriedale reaction video, and we would love to know what your reactions were. How did you feel about the twists? Are you happy Graham's alive? Who do you think Jodie is? How do you feel about the Swarla and Robron content? We want to know what your theories are for where these stories are going to go next. Please share in the comments. We love your theories. We're going to be delving into theories more and more in this podcast. So please leave us the best of what you think is going to happen next. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching Soap Scoop. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.